Thank you so much, Abbas. I'm so thankful to have you on Trusted Access today. It's an honor to have you. You've been in this industry a number of years, 25 years. You have experience in this industry, and everywhere I go online, there's just so much like information that you're sharing with people. You're a real thought leader, in researching for this episode as well, I learned so much as well. So look, I'll let you introduce yourself. I know you've introduced yourself many times, but if we could provide a brief overview just for those that haven't heard of you and don't know about you.
No, for sure. Thanks, Ron, for having me. So, yeah, I'm Abbas Kudrati. I'm based in Melbourne, and I'm the Chief Identity Security Advisor for Silverfort in the APJ region. I started the role this year in January, and prior to this, I was a Chief Cybersecurity Advisor for Microsoft Asia, based in Melbourne as well. And before that, I used to be Chief Information Security Officer for a number of organizations from KPMG Australia, New Zealand to Public Transport Victoria, and in Middle East, quite a few companies, having an experience in consulting, software development, system administration, ethical hacking, GRC, and security management, and now I work as an advisor. Apart from that, my full-time role, I'm also into thought leadership, academic as well. So I am a professor of practice with Trobe University here in Melbourne, and I love writing. So quite a few books on a variety of topics, all the way from threat hunting in the cloud to zero trust architecture on digital estate, to digital risk management, to OT, IoT, as well as most recently I released a book on cloud container security as well. So that's kind of a passion and hobby, apart from mentoring the young generations and students on how to start the career in cybersecurity and how they can leverage resources around them. So that's a sneak peek or a short introduction about me.
If you could condense everything from 25 years into 1 minute, I think you just did that successfully. So thank you so much for sharing that. And for anyone that's watching as well, I'm going to include a link to Abbas's About Me page, because he has a number of links that he has there, not just on cybersecurity, but other broader topics around some of the other vendors like Windows and what they have in their offering as well. So look, Abbas, one of the key questions I obviously had for you is, as a CISO at numerous companies, I just wanted to understand a little bit about what makes a vendor relationship trustworthy and valuable to you.
Yeah, sure. So I don't call myself a hardcore seller, but in everyday life, everyone has to sell. Either you are selling to your wife, negotiating something, or you are selling to your kids, convincing them to not go for the other toy or the different toy. So everyone is a seller, in my opinion, and it doesn't matter which role you are in your career. There is a bit of a selling. Everyone has to do it. Either negotiating your pay rise with your manager or convincing your team to go into a different direction. So the sales skills are very much embedded in a human behavior, and everyone should know how to have a trusted conversation or creating your trusted profile, as well as having a good negotiation skills. I think these are the basic foundation of every career, every role or every profession you have in your life, including individuals as well. So to gain a trust, the question is how you can be more of a trusted advisor. If I understand and if I rephrase your question, what makes someone a trusted advisor to your customer, right? Let's look at the persona of a CISO, because that's what my target audience is. Being an ex-CISO and in my current role as well, one of the target audience among my customers or institutes are mostly the CISOs who I deal with. That's where my role is aligned to. First of all, you need to understand the personas of the person or a person who is doing that role. Here, let's talk about the CXO or the CISO or a CIO. You need to understand what are the challenges they have within the role, and that comes very well if you have been in that role. And that's, I would say, I've been fortunate to be in that role, so I can understand the pain points, what it takes to be a CISO, what is the role of a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, where do they spend their time, who are the allies in their company, and who are the people where maximum conflict could happen in the organization. So whenever you go and talk, make sure you are empathetic to who they are and what they do. You need to have that kind of a knowledge, and you can gain that knowledge by reading many books and talking to people and understand what is the day look like. There's a fantastic book coming up by one of my friend called David G. I have written a chapter in that as well. It's called Day in the Life of a CISO. And I would highly recommend, once the book is released in the next couple of weeks, you should grab a copy of that if that is what you're interested. It's more of a career journey. So, Day in the Life of a CISO by David G. And there are 25 other CISOs who have contributed in that book. Wow. But yeah, going back. So, be a trusted, you need to first understand who you are talking to, understand their day-to-day life, pain area, what they do in their role. And they are busy people. CISOs have a lot of conflicting priorities in a day. When you are going requesting for a meeting, what value you are going to bring in the conversation? Another scenario reminds me, one of the customer who I recently met in one of the Asian country. When I went to meet him, he said, "What do you know about my company?" Okay, you know about me, but do you know about my company? And my salesperson was kind of blindsided. No, I did not research much. He said, "I hate people who come and meet me or talk to me without understanding my business." So that was an eye opener for my salesperson who was with me. He said, "Oh, I could have done a better research in that space. What do the company do?" So when you are talking to a CISO on certain products, certain services, certain pain areas, certain trend, certain news, you have to talk in a language and you need to understand what does company do. You can't go and talk about non-banking or a banking law or a policy to a person who is into manufacturing industry. They said, "Why are you talking to me all these things? I have no objective of aligning with that compliance or a policy in my area." But yeah, if you talk about privacy, which aligns with everyone, he would listen to you. He said, "Okay, this looks like in my area as well, so I need to know from more you and how you can help me in that." So do that research work first, knowing about the company. As we say, know thy neighbors, or know thy customer, or KYC, whatever you call it in different language. Yeah. So know the institute who you are working, who you are approaching. Know the person very well, who that person is, what's the background, what's the role like, and what conversation or what value addition you're going to bring in front of him in the first 30 minutes of or your 30 minutes of your meeting.
Right.
Are you going to share some trends? You have some cool technology which has been introduced, which could reduce the pain area. Could be, let's hypothetically, I have a new solution which could reduce the attack surface of my company by X%, or save me dollar value, because everyone likes a dollar, right? If I can save some money in that, or reduce my effort, make me more optimized. So go with that level of approach when you go and try to build your rapport as a trusted advisor. And only then he would say, "Okay, if I need something from Microsoft, let's call Abbas immediately," because he would give me a sound advice, not try to push anything, but he would give me a sound advice because he has been in that role. So that's how I built up my profile with my customers who have been dealing in last 10 years.
Right. So it sounds like, as a trusted advisor, so to bring back, obviously I was talking about trustworthiness and being valuable, right? So that is the definition of being a trusted advisor, right? Being trustworthy and valuable, right? I think that's how you got that inference. So what I'm hearing is that sometimes people, sellers as vendors, we come in knowing the persona, but we don't know about the business. And that is what holds us back from being able to create empathy with the customer. Is that fair? Is that a fair understanding?
Absolutely. That's a fair assumption, yeah.
And so then if we went into meetings with an understanding of the business and the person, what exactly as a CISO are they looking for us to really delve into? You mentioned pain points, right? So I understand, broadly speaking, now if I go and understand the person and the business, right? But how do I go about speaking about pain points for the individual themselves? Does that only come about through conversation, or other things?
The conversation, through your peers, through your conversation, through the past history. If your company has dealt with them, you know what they have, and bit of a research, what they are investing in. Is it something a pain area? So usually a lot of these CISOs or a CXO, they go into many conferences, as you said. You like going conferences, so listen to them in that conference. What topic they are talking about, and then you can pick up a few things that looks like the CISO is very good in GRC side of it, or he has a challenging right now in on implementation of AI, and do you have something you can add value in that? And you can say, hey, I have seen this pain with many other customers, and this is how I will help them. It is something, would you like to have a chat with me later on, when you meet them? And they would say, okay, let's have a chat. What do you have in that space? So they would give you time in that to have a chat on that topic.
For sure, that totally makes sense. And Abbas, just to lead on to that, right? Like, you would have dealt with many vendors in your time, and some vendors I'm sure that you've had long existing relationships with.
Mhm.
So I wanted to just understand, of the relationships that you have, who are some of the best? You don't have to name them, obviously, but the best vendors that you've dealt with. What did they do differently in the first 30 to 60 days of engagement?
So it all comes to the requirement as well, right? So as a CISO, I used to do my own research. I'm looking, for example, a SIM solution for implementing within my SOC. So I do my own research in terms of what are the top vendors in that area. Even the vendor is top, but do they have a better support and a people on the ground who could answer my phone when I got it, right? And funny story, I used to work for Microsoft for a long time, but before joining Microsoft, I had some problems in Microsoft products, and I couldn't find anybody to talk to me. Big company, right? But if I try to reach out, my calls and my emails are going back and forth with multiple people. Nobody is giving me the correct answer, or nobody is able to connect me with the right people. It's a big company. So when a time came for an interview with me, when I was getting interviewed for that particular role, actually I was headhunted, and they asked me that, would you like to join for the call? I said, I don't think I could work for Microsoft, because it's a very painful for me to work with Microsoft as a vendor. I could never. He said, that is why we need somebody like you who has been into the CISO role, who understands the pain point and be available for them in the region. So that's how the role of a chief security advisor or a field CISO or a field CTO role have been introduced by many vendors now following that footstep. You name the top vendor, and they would have somebody like me as a role to be on the ground, because my job is not to go and sell. I'm not a seller. I don't get a sales commission. I'm not a technical support as well. If they have a problem on the product, I'm not going to solve them. But I'm a kind of a bridge or a conduit between the customer and my company, so they can reach out to me as a trusted advisor. Abbas, what do you think about? I have this problem. Do you think you know anything in that area you can help from a practitioner point of view, from the process point of view, or is there any technology you can help it, or you have something in your product or in the roadmap? So I'm more of a sounding board where I go and they could ask me questions. Another area which I, as a trusted advisor, is I need to be up to date with my knowledge as well. And that is why I do a lot of these podcasts, blogs, writing, speaking, teaching, which keeps me up to date in terms of what's happening around me in the technology landscape. Something is coming in agentic AI, I have to go and read it, be ready. So you never know when the question can come up by a customer, and I should be able to at least answer something or direct the customer to the right channel for the further information. So it takes a lot of effort to be a trusted advisor, but if there's something every company can implement or have a role like that, I think it's a lot of value for the customers.
Yeah. So what I'm taking away is being available, right? A lot of times people are not available. A lot of times they have such competing priorities, but by making themselves more available for maybe not customers, but people that could be potential customers even, right? There's a higher likelihood of building a relationship, which is a higher likelihood of converting something. It's funny because even I had a similar experience just the other day where someone had submitted, it wasn't through, they weren't one of our enterprise customers, but they had submitted a question, a query, right, around enterprise pricing, right? And a lot of times those types of messages get lost in the big space of all the data that we have, right? So being available to the right to everyone is really important. Is that a correct? Have I sort of understood?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. In terms of crisis, when there is an incident, if you are not reachable, they would go somewhere else. They are not going to wait.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are no options.
So just in the best relationships that you've had with vendors, they've always been available to you. Would you say that's the number one differentiator?
Yeah, I have their contact details on the phone, and if I call them, they would immediately answer me, or if they are busy, they would call me back
Yeah,
and or give me a sound advice. So, yep, I could help, or hey, I could not help because don't. Even though I work for that company, I think you should go somewhere else. And
yeah.
I would win the trust for the guy. Okay, this guy is not a pushy or a just want to sell their product, but he's actually giving me a genuine advice that okay, we are not there yet. If it is a priority, go somewhere else, and we will come back when we have that feature. As an example, right?
That's such a great take, because we don't always have the solution, right? Sometimes saying no is the best solution, because
Absolutely.
you don't want to lose trust with someone as well
Yeah,
by over promising.
yeah. You overpromise, they buy it doesn't work, you lose your face, and your company also lose their face.
That's so important. So
Yeah.
important. One of the other things I really wanted to talk about is GRC. I
Mhm.
think that's a really important topic that's not really talked about enough in my experience, and I have a feeling I'm not the only one. Government risk compliance is one of the key factors, I guess, as a CISO, as a cybersecurity leader, that you have to align. I just want to get your definition firstly on GRC, and I just wanted to understand a little bit around what you think is the importance of it in cybersecurity.
Yeah. So it's a very, very broad topic, but let's dissect the three words GRC,
Yeah,
right? Because everything you do technically has to align with GRC. So let's start with G, which is the governance part of it. What is governance in a layman language? Govern means steering. You direct certain things. You're governing that. You're managing that. What does it mean in a cybersecurity? In cybersecurity, governance means you have a strategy in place, you have a plan in place, you have a roadmap in place. This is where you are. This is where you want to go, and you build a plan according to that, which includes your policy, process, procedures, technology, human hiring people or retaining people, skill set, everything. So governance is a very broad area. So all that comes into place, IT or a security. That's governed part of it. Second part we talk about is R, which is the risk part of it. How do you manage the risk? Risk is a very, very broad term, all the way from the corporate risk point of view to IT or technology risk to a cyber risk. They have many definitions. How do we manage risk? There are many methodologies, broadly two of them: qualitative methodology of the risk management and quantitative method of the risk management. Qualitative talks about the likelihood and impact, high, medium, low. Quantitative talks about the dollar value. If my website is down for 1 minute or 1 hour, what is the impact on my bottom line in terms of a profit or in terms of a dollar? I will lose my business because I'm selling an online stuff, or customer won't be able to transact, whatever it is. You assign a dollar value. There are many methodologies some of the time. The last part is the C, which is a compliance part of it. Now, compliance can be internal, external. What do I mean by internal? Compliance could be in compliance with my internal policy, my HR policy, my security policy, my clean desk policy. There are many, many. Or there are policy which is defined by the company rules of that, right? So you align with that. External also have a two part of it again. One is a regulatory base. That means, for example, you are working in a finance industry. So APRA CPS 234 is one of the requirements you have to apply that comes under the compliance remit. Could be PCI DSS, payment card industry, and many other, depending upon them. If you are healthcare, then HIPAA or health law, privacy is for everyone in that space as well. So that's a regulatory. Then there are non-regulated compliance requirements which you as a CISO have implemented, or as a team have implemented, such as 27001 framework, ISO 27001 about security. Since you have implemented that framework, you need to comply with the standards and of those requirements, so that you get recertified your organizations against that. So that's why governance, risk, compliance, and everything you do will fall under these three broad categories. For example, you are doing a pen testing for your company. You need to get a pen testing done. Technical work, right? But it aligns to one of the governance, risk, and compliance. You have a policy for that. You have a risk of getting hacked. That's why you're proactively testing. It meets my APRA CPS or PCI DSS or 27001 compliance requirement as well. So it aligns with everything, whatever you do in your activity. So it's a very broad term. And in my opinion, every person in cybersecurity should have a foundation knowledge of a GRC. Because every role you take in cybersecurity, you showed me a map of 100 other things you do. You are a pen tester, you are a forensic investigator, you are a red teamer, blue teamer, security engineer. Everything has to align with certain processes, certain risk, or certain compliance. That's why GRC is a very foundation layer for everything else you do in cybersecurity. I hope you got it.
What the way you just explained it, I could, whenever I do an account research, I could honestly just break down the three, because you had about 2 to 3 frameworks under each of the three categories, right? Government, risk, and compliance, right? Just the way you explain that, people can use that as a way to do account research and use that as a foundation for discovery calls and reach outs. Compliance, by understanding, first initially we talked about knowing the business, right? In order for me to know the business, I have to know which compliance requirements they have, right? So I could use GRC as a framework for every single conversation I have.
Absolutely. You're right.
What are some, look, honestly, at this point, I feel like I'm asking you to do my work, but what are some discovery questions you think, or like discovery points I could do to sort of unravel GRC a little bit if I'm in a conversation with someone that's sort of a mid senior manager to CISO level?
So GRC I already covered, but I would direct you to certain framework. For example, it's more of a sales framework. Have you heard of a term called MEDDPIC?
MEDDPIC, yes, I have heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, MEDDPICC. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I'm a big fan of that framework, and I always have it in front of me whenever I'm talking about or researching about a particular customer, and I think this will be beneficial for your audience as well. So I'll give you one question about each of the MEDDPIC. So first one is M is metrics.
Yeah.
In metrics, you talk about what are the measurables outcome you want your customers to have it. And that again falls into your GRC part as well. So I will be answering both your questions. So metrics is about revenue growth, cost reductions. What are you trying to help your customers? So understand the metric first. Second one is the E, which is the economic buyer. Who has the ultimate approval authority in that particular organization or in the deal? Is the CISO who is the final authority, or is the CIO or the CFO or the board member or the CEO? So understand that part. The third part is a decision criteria in the MEDDPIC, in terms of what are the specific criteria will this customer use to evaluate your product or a service. That's the third part. Fourth is a decision process. In that particular, you want to understand what is the exact steps and the timeline the customer is going to make a decision. Are you just doing a cold calling for them because you have something new? Or do they really have a pain area which you have done as a part of the research? Okay, they have a lot of agentic AI work, and you are going to go and understand what is their timeline in that process and who are the decision makers in that. Then next one is a paper process. That's where your compliance part comes in. What are the legal, procurement, or compliance steps they have to abide through for that particular sales deal or things what you are doing it. Then comes your I part, which is identifying the pain area. What are the critical challenges or the pain you are going to solve for the customer? Are you going to help them identifying all the agentic AI running in their environment, or being a Cloudflare as an example, are you going to help them with the distributed denial of service which they have it, which could help them in keeping their uptime more? So identify those pain area and have those talking points in front of you. Then in the MEDDPIC comes the last two C. The second last is a champion. So who in that organization internally who can be your advocate? Do you have any past colleague working there or past customers working there? How strong is their influence in that particular deal? You need to know that as well. So identifying the champion. I always find out who is the champion there who can go and put up my word. Many times happens that the CISO or a CIO or a CXO may not be replying you because it doesn't know you, doesn't know your company. I always see if there is any junior person there who I know or who has been my student. And sometimes they could be my advocate. He said, okay, sir, there is a guy called Abbas who has been trying to reach you out, and I've been studied under him, and it's fantastic. Would you like to have a 5-10 minutes coffee chat with him or have a call with him. So that champion could work. May not be a very strong influence, but at least help you open the door as well. And the last and the most important part in your Medipic framework is the competition, right? Who else are your competitor in this particular opportunity, and how do you compare yourself with that particular competition? In my case, I never go and talk bad about my competitor, but many competitors are like that, who always go and throw the mud on your face in front of the customer. But I never do that as a personally. And honestly, if you are following that, you gain respect from the customer. Don't go and talk bad about other vendor. Oh, that CE is more like that, or the product is whatever. Don't say that. Yeah, you have that product, you invested it, that is fine. However, we can complement you in that area, or these are the area we are strong at. So understand the competition, but never go, in my personal opinion, I mean, you have your own way of selling it, but I never go and talk bad about any product. You never know. Tomorrow that company may be offering you better, and the company goes better, and you may work for them. And then the customer, they said, now you work for this company, and yesterday you were telling me that company is not good. So never say bad about anybody, but know your competition, know thy enemy. Know your competition, their strength, their weakness. How do you compare? And focus on your strength and not their weakness. That's my parting thought. Yeah.
That's so key. In fact, I feel bad for interrupting you, because that would have been, I could have just left it there as its own segment there for you to finish that line. But I knew what you were going to say, because I've experienced that before. And if you look in everyday life as well, I gave this example to another guest. And I said, when people in your own circle, when they talk bad about others, right? Who is that a reflection on? Is it on the person they're talking about, or is it on them? It's on them, right? Yeah. But the same logic, you should never talk negative about any products, right? You should only be focusing on the successful things or the good things, on our strengths, right? Just reiterating what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
So look, thank you. And I think, so through a combination of GRC and Medpic, right, we use Bant, right? And I think Bant is great for creating notes for example, the AE, right? And for passing on information. But the Medpic framework isn't talked about enough in terms of personally using that to sort of gain knowledge and understanding of the business, to actually push that deal over the line.
Yes.
And I can't speak about other businesses, but I have not seen Medpics really spoken about. So I think that's really helpful for me, and I'm sure that'll be really helpful for a lot of other people that are not exposed to that, but have heard of it, but don't use it. So I think you gave a real practical way for people to use Medpic in cybersecurity. And I think that's just an extension of what we spoke about earlier when it comes to GRC.
Yeah, it could be internal sales process as well. You're finding a new job in your, you've just been hired in a company. You can do Medpic within the internal organization as well. Who is your manager? Who is the manager best friend? Influence, what are the pain areas manager has, so you can help, apply that logic to anything.
So true. Yeah. Very true. Maybe we can apply it to personal life as well,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Abbas, as someone that has so much information and is so willing to share information, I think anyone and everyone would describe you as a thought leader. So obviously I'm going to ask you about the future, Abbas. I really want to know about what you think about the future. AI, right? I know I say it at like a downwards crescendo, but that's just because I know it's what everyone's talking about. And I know you've been asked a lot of times, but that's because people really rely on you for this sort of information. So I am going to ask you around, I think we spoke about earlier on in the conversation that AI has been around since the 1960s, right? I learned that from watching one of Abbas's podcasts. Let me be fully transparent about that, but I had no idea it's been around for so long. So Abbas, my question to you is just around, what are you seeing as the real shifts in AI today, and how should both CISOs and sellers think about it differently moving forward in this industry?
No, as you said correctly, AI has been around for a while, and we've been calling it for a different name like machine learning and whatnot. But since the introduction of the generative AI, as we call it, Gen AI, where you are now using text to voice, text to message, text to image, text to video, whatnot. The people are going crazy in terms of utilizing, and it's a fantastic tool, right? I always, my son was asking me, what's the future with AI? What's the role we can do? I always say you have two options: either you work for AI or work with AI. And I always do the lateral one. Work with AI. That's going to make you more smarter, but don't take everything what has been given to you through AI. Always use your intelligence. And that's a classic example. My wife also tells me she writes her own text first as an email or whatever. Then she asks the ChatGPT to reframe it and or refresh it and make it more polished version. That's how it should be. Don't just blindly take on that, because it may not understand the human emotion or the main context of that. Of course, there are ways to do it, but I always say that so Gen AI has increased. There's a huge usage of everything. But you talked about the future, right? So, as you said, you saw my podcast on that. So, the way we are moving is the next phase is from generative AI to AGI, artificial generative intelligence. And after that, we are going to see something called super generative intelligence, which is I don't know if we both will be alive by then or not, but the way it's moving, we may be seeing the examples of that. But AGI, we are already seeing examples. AGI is where it can learn on its own. It can predict things for you based on the data available and whatnot. So AGI is something next we are focusing on. And another trend which has been increased in last 12 months is agentic AI. Rather than you have agents running in your environment. And I have a blog, you can find my blog on my LinkedIn page about what is the future of a security operation with an agentic AI. So the way, and I want to summarize that so you get a context on that. Today, in a security organization as a CISO, we have level 1 analyst today doing who are doing the job. But in the future, the level 1 work will be done by agents. You have agents for compliance, you have agent for risk, you have agent for vulnerability, agent for pen testing. All these agents are doing work, and the human would come on top of it, and the role also will change. You will have a level 2 analyst, but level 2 analysts are more of a manager of these agents. They would manage who knows how to manage the agent. And the level 3 is somebody who knows how to do interconnections and update and fix the agent problems on that. And then comes your other team member like CISO and everyone will come into place. So definitely the organization shift is moving. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of the company and they say that they are going to use agentic AI so much in the company that each agency is going to have an employee ID. So that's how they define the agent, by giving them an employee ID, because they are part of the workforce. I hope they are not getting paid bonuses and deals. That's only for human, but they have an employee ID. They are part of their organization structure. And if you click on the manager, the manager will say there are 5 humans, but there are 20 agents on that. So that's where we are moving. The future is moving, and the CISOs are really worried about that. And of course, they are not even worried, but they are also now proactively thinking, how are they going to tackle these areas as it comes on? Yeah, we'll take a pause there.
Yeah,
It's a big topic.
It's a big, very, very big topic. And yeah, I know we could talk about it for an entire episode, but I appreciate you giving us that little bit of context. And perhaps next time we can elaborate a little bit further in terms of, what does that mean in the context for sellers and how we approach that in the next couple of years. I guess, when we talk about the future, so just to lead on to that, obviously AI is the future. You mentioned now how AI is shifting from Gen AI to Ag AI. And then obviously, what was the last concept you mentioned?
So Gen AI, then AGI, artificial generative intelligence, and the last is the super generative intelligence, SGI.
SGI, okay. So that sounds like it's not in our timeline, hopefully. But so that's a later topic. I guess my following question when we talk about the future would just be, what do you think is the future for sellers in cybersecurity, right? This industry is evolving every day. And I know it's a very broad question, but if you look at 10 years ago where we were as sellers, right, where we are now and 10 years from now, do you want to just give the audience and myself just a bit of an understanding of how that relationship has changed?
Yeah, as I said, I'm not a sales expert and I don't claim to be one as well. But the way I see it is the sellers are getting more of a trusted advisors, right? Yeah. Because See, it's like a demand and supply. Of course, there is a demand for certain things, and there is a supplies in abundance, right? I was reading another article where somebody was mentioning for Microsoft, for Google, or for AWS, your customer could be 80,964 number, but for a smaller company, you are number one customer for them. You know, so I always tell my friends that yes, you like to work with the bigger companies like Microsoft and all, but don't ignore the smaller company who are going to give you personalized attention. They are more reachable. They would bet their life and they come to you there because they want to help this small company to grow, and it's our responsibility as an individual to other small companies as well. Because what we see is vendors are consolidating day by day. You pick up last 5 years, how many companies have been merger and acquisition has been done? Sentinel-1 acquiring another SIM, Observe IT, Palo Alto buying CyberArk and many other, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so there are many companies who are now getting acquired as well. So seller's job will be more of a trusted advisor rather than a seller, because people can go online and buy it. You know, what is the point of having a salesperson to talk to? Because the next current generation are used to digital world. They can go online and buy things, and possible as well. But you bring in the resource and the knowledge and giving them a personalized attention, meeting them, giving them an education as well. This is how the differentiator, what it is, you're available, reachable. I think that's a personalized service is what I think the future will always hold. Human touch will always be required, and which is a must as well in every process of what we do.
Fascinating. And I think so true. So the key takeaways from that are personalization. People want to feel like you're not just selling from, like buying off the shelf, right? They want to feel the experience is personalized, right? And that's why a lot of times buyers will look to smaller vendors, right? Mm-hmm. Because they want to feel like they're heard, and they want to feel like they're getting the service that they deserve and that they're paying for. Because it's a premium. When you're going for a big company, it's a premium. And you don't want to feel like you have to spend the big bucks like some of the other enterprise customers to just get that sort of attention. So that's really important and really valuable. And I think that's where the industry is heading. And in order for us to be trusted advisors, we need to have the knowledge as well, right? That's why I'm here learning from someone like yourself, so that I can build that knowledge, and so that we as sellers can build our knowledge, so that, maybe we might not know as much as someone like Abbas, right? Or a CISO. But we can at least provide the information they're looking for, because that's really important as to be a trusted advisor. Abbas, do you have anything to add to that, or do you think I hit the nail on the head?
I think you summarized it well, man.
Yeah, awesome. So Abbas, the final thing I wanted to cover, I know you're a busy guy, was just this really valuable resource. We don't even have to go over it in detail. I just thought it was super, super foundational, and I thought it would be really helpful to share. I found this on Abbas's page. Now, when I create the reel, I'm going to be posting the link to that as well. But this page in general, can you guys see that on my screen? Can you see that, Abbas? Really provides an incredible breakdown of cybersecurity and the different components. And if you actually click any one of these links, you'll actually notice that it actually provides a video as well. And that video will take you to a 5 to 10 minute YouTube video that really goes into that level of detail. Abbas, do you feel like this is, because when I saw this, I thought it was super helpful. Did you want to add anything onto this?
No, I mean, to be honest, I won't be claiming the rights for this. This is not something which I created, but because of my, I look at many resources, I read a lot. Wherever I find something interesting, I take their good work and put a bookmark on my page so others can learn. But look at this page. It's intimidating and exciting as well in terms of how or what all you can do as an aspiring cybersecurity student or somebody who is starting their journey. There are heaps and heaps. The industry is very, very big. Back in the days when I started my career, there was nothing called cybersecurity. It was only IT. And then came the network. So if you look at my journey, I started with an IT troubleshooter. Then I became a system administrator. Then I moved to a network engineering, network security, and then become a pen tester and GRC and whatnot. So, but now the world has changed. So this is just a glimpse of what all is available for you, and you can pick any one area and become expert in that as well. Or you become a generalist like me if you have started with some time back.
Abbas, just to continue on from our incredible discussion. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on today to Trusted Access. I'm incredibly grateful to have you here. You have a wealth of experience and knowledge to share. We touched on so many great topics, starting from the vendor relationships, leading on to GRC, then leading on to MedPIC, and then looking into the future of AI, but also cybersecurity and AI and how the relationship of buyers and sellers has evolved. So thank you so much for being on here, and would love to have you again.
Thanks, man. Welcome and pleasure to be here.